I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Cinema Royale.
Hey everybody, it's Easter everybody! Happy Easter!
No? We're not doing the Easter Beagle? Okay.
No, we're not doing the Easter Beagle. Anyways, welcome to this installment of Cinema Royale. I'm your host, Mike Mixtape, and this is our 50th... This
is our 50th line flub. I kid, we've had more line flubs than 50.
This is our 50th episode. Yes, 50. 5-0. Here we go. Eddie Murphy is a topic. Let me introduce you to my awesome film aficionados. Let's go from the order of what the film's going to be presented. So first up, with our little surprise here of Morgan Ledger.
It's nothing too big, but here I go.
You brought those back.
I'm the Easter Fox.
Yay! All hail the Easter Fox!
Yay!
I slick, slink, and cleverly move all around the world, delivering good movies, jelly beans that don't taste like earwax to all the good little boys and girls.
I thought you would be running around. I thought you would just be running around placing toasters that you apparently hold on your crotch. Actually, you just pass down English muffins while you're at it.
One question. How did you get the job? Did you eat the Easter bunny?
Oh no, he's ill.
Oh, okay.
He's doing drum solos right now. while an evil Hank Azaria chicken is trying to take him over.
Seriously, that movie was shit.
There's a reason why nobody cares about that film and everybody focuses on the Despicable Me movies and the Lorax.
That reminds me, speaking of shit...
Because the Lorax is so much better.
We have our sponsor for this evening, for a change of pace. Tonight's broadcast is not brought to you by Russell Brand's Bunny Droppings.
What the hell is that?
Oh, it's a cupcake.
Cupcake.
Oh.
With jelly beans on it.
I was looking at this angle, it looked like a little mini bong or something. I was like, is James taking an Easter shot?
Why does Russell
Hey,
Brand
that's a great
have
idea,
bunny
actually.
droppings?
Next year, remind me to do that.
You were saying, Jada?
I still don't know why Russell Brand has bunny droppings. I'm still stuck with
it's a little joke in the movie where like Russell Brand voices the main actor. Apparently, he poops jelly beans.
Oh, in Hawk? Russell Brand was in Hawk? Why am I saying
Yeah, he was the bunny. He was the main character.
He voiced EB.
Yes, that would explain why it wasn't funny.
That's my dream casting for the Easter Bunny. That's
Russell.
who I would want to play.
Oh my god.
Of all people, he'd be the first one I think of. I like Russell Brand for the record, but he makes some questionable decisions, like, consistently.
Well, he was funny as the Doctor in Despicable Me.
Yeah, true.
I like
I'm actually really surprised it was him. Like, that's an amazing performance.
Anyways,
one success.
I like St. Trinian's remake. He was in that. He works best as a side character. Is what I figured.
Anyways, coming back from a 4-week hiatus, it's Matt Brunet.
I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. I am back from Florida. I had a good time. Really fun, really relaxing. But now I am back. I am ready. And let's get on with the Murphy.
And next to Brunet, through my point of view, is Jada. And then...
I don't get an introduction? Hi, okay.
You make your own introduction like everyone else.
Yes, you make your own.
The female doesn't get an introduction. She just has to smile and wear her Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt and look pretty. I see how it is. I see what the system has brought onto me, my career. I have to support my family and make a living being independent. And you have the gall to disrespect me in this way.
Good intro. Next one.
Fight the power.
And last but not least, James Ivy Tooth Cellophant.
Cupcake.
Suffering. Okay, I'm better.
That was a hey, that was amazing.
Moment ruined.
Stop eating and talk, James.
Okay.
I know you talked about bunny droppings, but
The Easter box
I'm
delivers
done.
Starburst jelly beans, not jelly bellies, for a good reason.
oh man.
Is there an Easter raccoon with a giant candy gun?
Oh, he's out in space.
Alright. We miss him very much. So anyways, like I said, this is the Eddie Murphy episode. We are not going to talk about his quote bad films. We're going to talk about his good films. This is a dedication, a honor of Eddie Murphy. We're talking about the good films of Eddie Murphy, because this is our 50th episode after all. We've got to talk about the good. So first off, let's start off with, I believe, according to his filmography, it's the second film he ever did, called Trading Places, coming out in 1983, and Morgan has that. Go for it, Morgan.
That is true, actually. John Landis saw dailies of 48 Hours, and he was impressed by Eddie Murphy's persona and fast-paced humor, that he said, oh, this actually would be pretty good. Because if I remember correctly, the casting was between Richard Pryor and I can't remember. It might have been
Wilder.
Thank you. It might have been. I think it was Gene Wilder. And as interesting as a pair like that would have been, I'm actually pretty glad they went with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. The heart of the film is really the social commentary. You have a very rich man who's very, set up in this whole society of these snoots, knows about the stocks, his way about, the cash and such, the workings of the stock market, and this other guy who pretty much is just all his life panhandling from a poor, straight environment. This fast talkative person who is literally using his own wit to get around the police and stuff like that. Legitimately, the very first scene we see him, he tries to evade the police by mentioning that he lost his limbs and he was blinded in Vietnam. And yet, every time they ask him a question, he has like this little excuse, up to the point where they have to remove him from the bin, and then he fakes a miracleism by claiming that he can walk and see thanks to the power of Jesus, which is actually pretty clever. The premise of the
Speaking of
movie.
which, happy Easter.
Yes. Why are we doing Easter movies? Seriously. Okay, moving on.
Shut up.
Easter movies don't exist.
There's not
Ten
a lot of them.
Commandments, Ten Commandments, and Hop. There you go.
But
That's it. That's
greatest story ever
it.
told.
I could technically get
Ben-Hur.
into Rise of the Guardians. That's
Oh,
kind
that's
of
not an
one.
Easter movie.
It
Peter
has
Well,
Easter bunny.
Cottontail.
alright. I'll consider it for a future
Critters
episode.
2. Critters 2, the main
I will
course.
consider it as a future episode when we get
Bill
to
and
Easter
Ted's
again.
Bogus Journey.
Oh, yeah.
Joner?
Bogus Journey?
Whoa, check it out, Theodore. It's a boner.
It's a bogus Joner.
So the premise, sorry, moving on. The
Yep.
premise of Trading Places is these two twin, no, not twins, they're these two brothers, um, and they're always going up, and they're always going back and forth between nature versus nurture, and they decide just for the shits and giggles to switch these two people around to prove that theory. And as luck may hold, it's Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. And what makes it interesting is the transformation that these two go through. You have Dan's character, who's in this mansion, has an amazing girlfriend, a butler, anything that a millionaire could ever have. And it's literally taken away from the snap of fingers. And next thing you know it, he's in the slums with a prostitute played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who is so street smart, you kind of wonder why she isn't working the stocks. But of course, the main focus is Eddie Murphy. And that is a more interesting aspect to this film. In fact, there's quite a lot of focus on his character. And what makes it interesting is that when he starts his millionaire role, he does it in the typical, predictable way that we would think of if we were given a mansion and $1 million. Splurge. But then it finally dawns on him that the responsibilities of being a stockbroker and having all these riches really do come with a lot of prices. And he starts playing it smart, knowing exactly, the different amounts of the value of certain items, like say, oh, orange juice, bacon, and stuff like that, because apparently the business he works for has a bunch of profits in breakfast kind of items. It's a little weird, but it kind of sort of makes sense because there's a value for food, of course.
Hmm.
And it's just so interesting to see how he becomes this fast, talkative guy from the slums, and yet overnight he becomes this very rich billionaire that can literally just work the stocks at the drip of a hat. And so when you see these two later on that are completely transformed, it's so hilarious to see this guy that was taken out of the streets have all these very Wall Street smarts, and yet this guy that had all these Wall Street smarts is just running around in a Santa Claus suit with a pistol. It's so surreal, but yet hilarious to see that these two are broken down by the environments that they're placed in. And I'm not going to give this away, but what makes it even more funnier is the bet this was all placed on. And as much as I so want to desperately spoil it, it's really what makes the movie worth it. The fact that this whole experiment was a bet for something so simple that it makes you wonder that it makes you realize that these two dukes are the ultimate millionaire bastards that make Donald Trump look like Michael Eisner.
Michael Eisner.
Name drop.
Who's
This
Eichel Eisner?
Michael Eisner. Michael Eisner. Sorry. The second half of the film, of course, involves them trying to get back at the Dukes, which is really, really clever. But for me personally, what makes that movie work so well is, again, a lot of social commentary and even some jabs at racism. At one point, you have the scene with the Dukes. They break Eddie Murphy out, and there's a bit where they drive in the limo, and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Valentine, want to hop right in and go to seat?" And then you have Don Mackey's character holding up a bottle of booze and going, "Free whiskey, all you can drink."
Oh, that's not even the meanest that he gets in
I
there.
know, I know. There's a scene where he's in the jacuzzi, and they're listening in. The butler's like, "No, no, no." The one of them is like, "What is he doing?" And the butler goes, "He's singing." Very interesting people they are.
Oh yeah, he says some stuff in there that's just downright despicable at times. Like you couldn't. Hey, they're okay. I'm only quoting the movie here. When they're stoking out for these characters for the bet, one of the things that
Be careful,
Don
James.
Amici's huh?
I said be careful, James.
There's a reason why the dial pad exists on Skype.
Okay,
Just do this.
Oh.
okay, I get it,
Just
I get it. He said when they're scoping out Eddie Murphy's character for this bet of theirs, he says, "What are you kidding? He's a they can't do anything right." And that was the point in the movie. It was like, whoa, definitely early '80s moment there.
we are too white for this.
But still, it also does prove a point when you really do think about it, how people are treating others in certain aspects. And again, those millionaires are really good stereotypical examples of the high-powered class that's all about the great supremacy and ultimate power.
I always thought of them as Statler and Waldorf because
Yes!
they reminded me of
Yes!
Statler and Waldorf being like two old people who are douches. So
I can
I don't
only
know what their actual names are, but I call them Statler and Waldorf.
uh,
Can you imagine Stetler and Waldorf being two old
please,
racist guys like they can't
I
do anything right? Oh,
Well, they
no,
are
no.
racist to bears. Just saying.
If I may, I think I have a good idea how this would go. Remember that scene where they're reading newspapers and there's a little servant that comes along putting down drinks? Oh,
Yeah.
here's a little tip. $5. I can go to the movies. Have that for me too. Oh,
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah, yeah. Like that was what was that back? Are you talking about like no that can't be the pilot because they were acting like old people. That was Was it Muppets Tonight or the Jim Henson Hour?
I'm thinking Muppet.
Ooh.
Because I remember
Okay.
there was a point when they were in an old folks' home.
Tonight, Muppets Tonight.
Muppets
Who can
Tonight. There you
keep track anymore?
They were barely in the Jim Henson Hour. It was like just one episode, and that was it. It was the musicians episode.
go.
It's
Right.
funny they were doing this episode today because I was just channel surfing this afternoon and Comedy Central was showing Trading Places. I was like, what the That's a coincidence. It's like, we're talking about it tonight and it was mind blown.
Of course,
Best.
well, of course, it is good to keep in mind that while the movie does make some, um, it makes some true statements about racism and how old people and the rich are towards black people. The movie itself
Provided that
does
the old
have
people
that.
are white, I guess.
The movie itself does have that one scene, which there is very cringeworthy to me every time. And I love this movie. It's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies. Do you guys? They're on the train,
Yes, and he's the
and
Jamaican.
they all have and they all have to like
Boodaba.
fucking what makes the red man red type shit goes on as they decide that they want to distract the one mook through Bugs Bunny censored episode that doesn't get aired anymore type shenanigans where Eddie Murphy is like this, I don't know, Arabian dude or I don't know what the fuck he is.
He's African. He's like an African dude. I am a transfer student. Beef jerky.
Yes.
And the butler is Amish and Jamie Lee Curtis is Dutch and then Dan Aykroyd it comes in. Literal blackface, people. Literal blackface goes on. And it's like, this one scene, the rest of the movie seems like it's very forward with its writing of the different races and the commentary. And then this scene comes right the fuck out of nowhere. And it's just like, ah?
It's bizarre, but it's just so funny because they're trying so hard to be these out of fish out of water kind of people. Even Jamie Lee Curtis coming in, she's supposed to be this girl from Sweden. She has these German clothes on, and even the butler points out, but those are Lederhosen, German Lederhosen. Yeah, I am from Sweden.
I get what the punchline is. I still find it way too uncomfortable to be funny.
Oh, and speaking of Muppets, if you look, this is actually not too hard to spot. Their cellar at the end of the climax, that's Richard Hunt. You might know him better as Sweetums.
Oh.
The
Well,
one who's like, yeah, the one who's a little bit bald and he has like a little gap in his teeth.
prominent
At the end
Muppeteer,
of
that guy.
Yeah.
the cellar at the end of what?
The Duke and Duke's person who tries to buy every corner of the orange juice business,
Right,
and
okay.
he's like trying to sell any.
I thought you were
Any
talking about. I thought you were talking about some Muppet movie, and I was like,
yeah,
he's in the box in Muppet's Most Wanted, because
and
I'm
at the
pretty
end,
sure that was Jonathan Groff. But whatever.
yeah, and at
Doesn't.
the end of the movie, because he has a fear of like large crowds, he faints or something like that. In Training Places.
Right.
Yeah, John Landis had a pretty good connection with the Muppets, and I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, but there's actually one where, believe it or not, Jim Henson does have a speaking role, but it's very small. I have yet to see it, and I wish I could say the title.
What Frank Oz was in Blues Brothers.
He was in Blues Brothers, Trading Places, Blues Brothers 2000, American Werewolf in London.
Touche.
So there you go.
Trading Places is like really good. I mean, for a second outing, it was really fantastic. I'm gonna go back a bit. I did see 48 Hours his first acting role in a film, and it's hit or miss with me. It's just like,
Me too.
it's you know
Like, I respect 48 Hours what it tried to do. The only good moments was when literally Eddie Murphy was on because he was trying to do his own shtick. Trading Places works for me more because he has so much breathing room. Again, he starts off as this poor man and when he becomes a rich man, it's like anything that can happen to a person who's being reintroduced to a new environment with so much, nobility, less poverty. It's like anything could possibly happen, and anything that does, it does happen. There's a scene where he has like a whole house party full of prostitutes, and then that's smeared away as he becomes a more respectable gentleman, and he's sipping tea or whatever, and talking to a bunch of rich folk types, and whatever joke that he makes, which he thinks is a little off color, they accept as actually kind of funny. And it's just so interesting to see that kind of transformation. That's what I appreciate about it so much. The laughs do hold up. The only problem I do have is that there are times where it can get a little
Excuse me.
too bizarre in spots, like the obvious man in gorilla suit for special effect on the train scene. Like, really? They couldn't hire an actual gorilla? Okay, I get it. It's supposed to be, like, maybe up in the ante in the goofyism, but it just seems weird
Well,
to me.
there were certain bits where it would have possibly been dangerous to have an actual gorilla.
Yeah.
Unless he had a really well trained one, that would have cost some money.
Like, it works for something like The Incredible Shrinking Woman because it's a goofy science fiction 1980 B movie with Lily Tomlin and Charles Grodin. This film is sort of walking a fine line between being sort of this outlandish, gross out kind of humor along the lines of Animal House and something like that. The concept of having an obvious man in gorilla costume, it just sort of feels a little bit out of place, but it can be funny in its own right, especially that perverted look it gives when they put the bad guy in a similar gorilla costume. Just this little.
That was another odd scene.
Why
There was a
does he
couple of
do that?
there was a couple of odd scenes in the third act of that movie. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
See,
I'd
this film
also,
is. Go on,
um,
James.
I'd also like to say, since nobody else is going to bring this other film up, took a little look at the queue for tonight. Um, the This movie, Trading Places, actually sort of has a sequel.
Like a sequel spin-off of some
How
sorts, or like
so?
And it's another Eddie Murphy movie.
What are you talking about?
Beep, 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 beep. Boomerang.
No,
Oh.
Pluto Nash.
no,
I
definitely
don't know.
not.
I'm just guessing. I have no fucking clue.
Okay. Coming to America.
How?
How are you connecting
How
that
is that a
together?
sequel?
Because
Oh, the Duke brothers make a
the
cameo.
Duke brothers come back.
That
Mortimer,
hard
we're back.
that
We're
hardly
back in
classifies.
business.
That's just a cameo. It's
That
not like
hardly
it's a
qualifies it as a
connected.
sequel.
It's not
Yeah.
like a connected universe kind of thing. I mean,
No, it is a connected universe kind of
oh
thing.
yeah,
Come
I should
on.
say it's a connected universe, but it's not like it's a sequel to the film. It's just like, oh, it's just a cameo from the previous film.
I
How
Wait,
is
wait,
see.
wait,
that?
wait, wait, wait,
it's
wait,
like
wait, wait, wait.
consider it something like in the same universe per
Yeah,
se.
yeah,
Okay.
It works for Kevin Smith because you have Jay and Silent Bob literally in almost every single goddamn movie.
yeah,
And they're sort of
yeah,
like connecting each movie, in a sense.
yeah. In
Jane
a
and Silent
sense,
Bob have a lot of really random adventures that they don't talk about afterwards. Like at no point
exactly.
in Jane and Silent in any of the other movies are like, hey, remember that time we met God? That was you'd think that would come up, but nope.
If they had more funny moments like that, ABC wouldn't have canceled them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Animated show?
Oh yeah, I remember that. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah. But yeah, this film is like really good because a lot of people liked it, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it is 88% fresh. One of the highest films for Eddie Murphy.
Looking good, feeling good.
Looking good, feeling good. So, according to Rotten Tomatoes, the next film on our list that's the second highest in our quo here is 86%, and of course, it's Mulan.
Yes, Mulan. We are heading straight forward to somewhere at the end of the Disney Renaissance era, and this is Mulan. Mostly, this is taking a new shot, mostly a new shot for Disney in a sense. This may not be one that a lot of people would think much of, but it definitely is one that's more like it went more outside of the box, not just artistically, but mostly of what they're trying to do. So with Mulan, basically, this is the kind like they decided to really pump up the main female lead because normally back then Disney does have a bad reputation with how they represent their Disney princesses. It's not until Belle came in from Beauty and the Beast. Okay, bye Jada. It's not until Belle from Beauty and the
Come back.
Beast.
You got rid of the feminist.
It's minor.
Anyways, it's not until Belle they start to show a bit more character into like their female lead. Not until like more than just I want to have boy now. Um, but with
That's
Mulan,
overly simplifying the female leads of yore, I
but
think.
but anyways, what I was trying. But anyways,
Okay.
with Mulan, like she's definitely like def a much more structured character, trying to simplify, going outside of the realm to be in a role of what she was trying to be. Like they try so hard, her family tries so hard to turn her into like a great bride, but she's just a major screw up. So she decided, like to help her dad out, she would go to war, be disguised as a boy, and it really and like at the same time, like while they do that and with the animation they go a bit more like with the traditional Disney animation but with some Chinese influences. They also go uh where was I trying to go with crap, I'm having a brain fart. um yeah, like they're trying to go with they're trying to go with that. But yeah. Okay. Like they're trying to have like this story, a bit of like war and stuff like that, like going into war while maintaining some Disney elements like the animation and having some musical numbers, which they really are great. They really are. Um, but then we have Eddie Murphy as Mushu, and honestly, like when you think of him conceptually, he's not really much like of a character. Like this is something that they've already done. Mushu is basically following the tradition what started with Genie, because when Robin Williams did his performance as Genie, it really like launched into something big, and like what resulted afterwards is characters uh, like like the major memorable Disney comedic sidekicks that would always improvise into something funny. Like that would rather be Genie from Aladdin, Timon and Pumbaa in The Lion King, Hugo Victor and Laverne from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Say what you will about like what these guys are conceptually, they're following the tradition of that. And then we have Mushu, which is pretty much if you take Eddie Murphy into a Disney film, and for the most part, it does work. Like Eddie Murphy does bring in his own comedic charm into Mushu, like that pretty much makes Mulan, and it really does help uh, amp up the comedy. Like technically, they don't really need Mushu because technically there is like Ling Yao and Xian Po that are like the comedic sidekicks, um, as well, like when Mulan is in the training ground to become a soldier against the Huns, but
The Hans.
the
Hans.
Huns. That's apparently the plot of the sequel of Frozen. But
We are
no,
fighting Hans.
no,
Let's
but
get
anyways,
down
like
to business to
that's pretty
defeat
much.
the Hans.
But
Oh, I
anyways,
hope that one's not the hostage.
yeah, that's pretty much it with Eddie Murphy's role. But overall, with Mulan, it's still like I wouldn't say it's the best among the Disney Renaissance films, but it still really is a fun movie. Great musical numbers, fantastic animation, a lot of fun to watch, but also it definitely has its heart. It definitely has heart. Some good action on the side as well, and it definitely is a good message. And I think like out of all the Disney princesses, Mulan is definitely one of the best role models in there. Even though technically she never was a princess. Like she never is a princess
Mm-mm.
actually.
Mm-mm.
I guess the Disney princess needed like an Asian representative.
Probably, yeah. So I want to say two things. First off, do we want to see a CGI Mushu voiced by Eddie Murphy in the remake?
They'll probably have him done by Kevin Hart.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like they're gonna replace him with someone more modern.
Yeah, I was thinking that. And two, here's a fun fact for you. Eddie Murphy recorded his dialogue during the breaks while he was doing Holy Man.
That's a common practice Disney would do. Like I remember Robin Williams would record Genie. I think what was it? I think it was in between Hook.
Yeah,
He
he
would
was
be
working on that.
recording his lines for Genie. So it's a very common practice.
But yeah, I freaking love this movie. I remember watching it as in my youth, and the songs were catchy.
Mm.
Mushu was my favorite character, obviously.
You know, one bonus little thing I want to add is that I remember back during the movie's release, I remember there was this when I went to Disney World during the time it was released, and they had this huge parade. I remember like Disney had like at Disney World they had this huge major parade, and it was like okay, it's for the release of Mulan, but actually there is more to it because this is actually the first ever Disney animated feature that was made in Florida. It was the one. It was the first one that was made in the animation studio that was in Disney's MGM Studios, what it was called back then, but now like what we know now as the magic of Disney animation.
Mhm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, here's something else. I wanted to bring up. Apparently, one of the nice subtleties that the Disney animators brought into to this is that there's at some point in Mulan's training in the film where they actually
I
they
know what
actually
you're gonna
adjusted
talk about.
her eyes a little bit to make them look a little bit more supposedly masculine, I guess.
Oh, the ice thing?
Mm-hmm.
I never noticed that actually.
That's something that I read uh, back in Disney Adventures ages ago. But
Uh, I
yeah,
remember
they
back. I thought you were gonna mention like if like that one moment was like when what was the general's son's name? Oh, what was Donny Osmond's name in that movie? Hold on, General. I'm trying to remember. Wait,
General
I gotta.
Zod?
Oh,
General Zod.
she.
Neil!
The
Kneel before Hans!
George Takei. Oh, apparently he was in the movie.
Mark.
Anyways, he was the first ancestor. Uh, Crap. I'm trying to remember what was Shang. There we go. I remember. I thought you were gonna mention when Shang like he would pull Mulan up during the training. It was like you just see him. It's like something like this, and like the caption was like, if he looked down, this movie would have been over.
That would have made so much sense.
I could tell you who voiced that character in the Asian version of the film.
Oh yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
singing as well.
Yes, apparently he's a very good singer,
Oh
Jackie
yeah.
Chan.
Yep.
And yet we got Donny Osmond.
Well, he's not bad.
Still, it's kind of weird.
I wanted to say, let's see, anything else about? Well, they I guess I have to be this person and bring this up. But apparently, there's a martial artist on Mike's phone attacking him at this very moment.
Oh.
Doing some karate. Sorry, guys.
Um,
Try to do my workout.
Speaking of Mulan, there uh, they there is some skepticism about whether or not, historically speaking, Mulan was actually a real person.
Well, technically, this like the movie itself is based on the story of Fa Mulan. Like this is a legend, like that was done a long time ago. This is not like an original Disney film that they made up on the spot.
Oh no. Of
So
course
it could be debatable if Mulan was actually a real person. So maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But like the one thing's for sure, like it's based on like the story of Fa Mulan. They just have to add some of their Disney stuff to it, you know. Because where did that Eddie Murphy Chinese dragon come from in the original tale? I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I'm
they.
being a very popular comedian here.
I didn't know that
Oh
was.
boy.
Am I? Am I the only one to be? Should I be embarrassed to say I did not realize that was Eddie Murphy until we ended the film when I was watching the credits?
Really?
I'm. It but I was the same kid who didn't realize that was Robin Williams until I watched the
Oh,
credits of
right,
Aladdin.
right.
So,
You're
Okay.
still young. Understandable.
so again, before you guys were born. No,
No, it was '98, so
Oh yeah.
I,
I teased.
You were like as a young you must have been like a teen or a young adult.
Yeah, I was what 13 when this came out. So
Okay, so
so,
anyway,
so James, sorry to interrupt, but Jada's been waiting so patiently.
you got something, Jada?
Okay. I strongly disagree with the notion that Mulan is the first dimensionally written of the Disney princesses.
well, I
Or
didn't
that
say it
Okay.
was the first.
you said it seemed to me that you were saying that she was the first to truly have a sort of depth as a female character.
I
That
never
she
said
was
that.
like this. It seemed to me that you were saying something along those lines. I do recall you comparing her to Disney princesses before her, and their attitude being very little more than "I like boys," which, for the record, none of the Disney princesses had that. I mean, they had that, but that was not their main personality. None of them, except maybe Aurora, who wasn't even the star of Sleeping Beauty, so that's fine. The idea that she's one of the better role models is a tricky thing to define. I, for one, find that all of the Disney princesses are good role models in their own rights, in their own different ways. As much as
Mm-hmm.
Mulan is a interesting character, and certainly one who you can root for with her underdog kind of story, and her desire to fit in, and her journey to overcome that, I don't want people to think that she is more feminist or more important, more of a role model than other Disney princesses because, she's less girly and less boy crazy and she like fights things with a sword. You know, the older Disney princesses and some of the newer ones who came before Mulan, which is actually all of them, except, the new ones of the very recent Renaissance, your Rapunzels and your Tianas.
Yay, Tiana!
Tiana's great. I love Tiana. She needs more merchandise.
Yes, please.
Well, I think she's getting more.
Uh,
She's getting the same. She's getting about the same treatment as like the other Disney princesses from what I'm seeing.
But I want more froggies.
Not even close. My point is, Mulan is a good character. Whether or not she's one of the best characters up for debate, don't don't bring down the other princesses, because all of them have value, including Alice, even though she doesn't really count, but still, Alice is cool.
All right, now if I can like rebuttal, the thing is that what I was trying to say is that like this is just in comparison to the other Disney princesses.
I know.
Like I never said that like she was the first ever to do this. I was saying like there was like at least starting from the Disney Renaissance, starting like with Ariel, there is a sudden increase on like a build up to create more of a character. Like with Mulan, like at the time, that's like when they really peaked with it. Like they made more than like this is a girl who's more than just about like romance than to have like to fall in love with someone. Like much more than
Which I
that.
could
She has like
easily say.
purposes. She has
Which
personality.
all
There's
of
like
this,
things
like,
she can and can't do. Like they
and I
really
and
went into
I
that.
and I could easily say all of this of all of the other Disney princesses,
But I'm not
except
saying
maybe
that the
Aurora.
other ones are bad. It's like,
No, you're saying that they were romance focused, which I disagree with, and you
well,
were
yeah,
saying
they
that
kind of.
they didn't have much personality or purpose, which I also vehemently disagree with. Especially with like the Renaissance princesses, the Ariel and the Jasmine and the Belle. You twirl your friggin' gavel. I'll talk at the pace I want to.
Hell, even Belle didn't start off as a princess.
But I'm not trying to diss that. I'm not trying to diss the other princesses when I say that. I'm pretty much trying to say that the main focus, like their main goal, is not the romance bit.
No, it's not. None of their main
Like
goal is the
with
romance bit. I disagree. I mean I agree with that.
like at least with Mulan, like her goal, her intention was never to find romance. Like there's not even like there's never even once like there's never even once a mention that she wants romance. Like even like with the bride thing, it's like it shows like she can't really even. Okay, well, kind of spoiler alert. Even at the end, like when her and Shang like when they're at home, like is it just like like a little buddy thing? Is it like a little congratulatory thing? Like you never know. Like
It's very pretty certainly implied that it's romantic.
hmm,
Aren't they
would you
supposed
stay
to get
forever?
married in Mulan 2 or something?
Yeah, but that's sequel.
Putting
Nobody
Disney
talks.
sequels aside, we don't need to bring them into the debate.
Eddie Murphy's not even in the sequel.
So yeah,
Okay.
why there's no mention of it?
All
Don't
of the
mention it.
all of the Disney princesses A have their own separate character and personality. B are role models in their own way, and C have the main facet of their goal is not romance. None of the Disney princesses have romance as the main facet of their goal, even if it is part of their story, which it is for all of them, including Mulan. For none of them is it the main part, except maybe Aurora. But again, it's Aurora.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not gonna argue.
So next movie.
So what I think, this was right after Trading Places, the next film that Eddie Murphy did that made this is his most iconic role to date, spawning two sequels out of it and a possible fourth one coming out next year in the summer. I'm talking about Beverly Hills Cop.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Beverly Hills Cop. Now, Beverly Hills Cop is a very, very interesting story because it started out as a Sylvester Stallone movie. He was negotiating to play Axel Foley, and the characters would, evolve around him. But Sylvester Stallone kind of quit during the production of it, and the reason why he quit is
Uh-oh.
hilarious. In a interview, they revealed that the reason why he quit the movie was a big dispute over which orange juice was in his fucking trailer.
What?
Is that legit?
Oh.
Is that
Yeah.
actually the
Yes, it's on the
basis?
IMDb trivia page. I kid you not.
Oh.
It's
Okay, so
just
that's
Why
IMDb
is my
trivia.
orange juice with pulp? I asked for no pulp. Adrian!
So I was just like, wait a minute, all because of orange juice, he didn't do Beverly Hills Cop.
Is it because is it pulp, or is it like,
It was probably more than that too.
or is
It
it
was
like
just
the wrong brand?
the wrong brand. He said it was like, so
I
what
asked
orange?
for a Minute Maid, not for Sunny D.
I don't know.
No,
That's
this is
that was part.
I'm
Joel.
I'm getting a different story here. It said
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they gave him the script,
There's more
and
to
he
the
said
story.
he said it looked like the opening scene from Saving Private Ryan on the beaches of Normandy, and he had different ideas in
Yeah,
mind, but
yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah, yeah,
deemed too
yeah, yeah,
expensive,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
pulled out.
Right. Yeah, that was the other half of the story. I just thought to note the funny aspect of part of why he just stormed off.
Yeah, I asked for
Event.
Tropicana, you give me miniature made, and when I asked for miniature made, I mean a miniature made this big. Yeah.
But if you really want to see what Sylvester Stallone would have been at Axel, if you want to see what the Sylvester Stallone Beverly Hills Cop would have been, he actually made it into a film called Cobra, which is a very serious action film that he made. Uh, not comedian, not comedy related, but
A serious action movie?
Sorry, my door was coming to life. What were you saying?
I was flubbing some lines here. But as I was saying, if
Just the usual stuff all around.
this is the usual stuff, if you want to see Sylvester Stallone uh, in what his version of Beverly Hills Cop would have been, he made a movie called Cobra in 1986, and that's what. So it wasn't what Beverly Hills Cop was known for. It was something serious. I guess I've seen it once, and it was just very
Serious.
serious. Anyway, so after Sylvester Stallone left, they hired Eddie Murphy on to do this action comedy, and for the script, they didn't have much. So basically, in this film, he improvised most of the movie. So all of his lines are just improvised, which is gold because Eddie Murphy is perfect at improvising. Basically, Beverly Hills Cop is about Axel Foley, a Detroit cop. His friend comes back from Beverly Hills. They hang out for a bit, and he gets murdered. So Axel Foley has to go to Beverly Hills to figure out who killed him, and he goes into this, culture shock, seeing the difference between Detroit and Beverly Hills, meets some new people, and trying to solve crimes in between. He does, he's a sly fox. He tries to figure out who killed his friend while trying to not get in trouble. He's like, he has to do these like fake like character personas, trying to get information out of people, and it's hilarious. Uh, I have a connection with this film. I believe I told a story before on a previous episode, but I swear to God, I don't know why. But in high school, I wanted to audition for a play, or was it a musical? I forgot what it was. So I wanted to do drama for a year. I don't know what it was. So I had to choose a monologue to choose to audition, and I ended up using a monologue from Beverly Hills Cop, and it was so awkward. The monologue, which featured where he comes to the Beverly Hills Palm Hotel, and he's trying to con into again a hotel room, you know, and basically the scene was the monologue was, I don't know the exact words. I should I could look it up to quote, but it's basically he was trying to persona as a Rolling Stone um, writer to interview Michael Jackson. He's like, I swear to God, I was so awkward when I said it. So I was like saying, okay, why would you not let me into the Beverly Palms Hotel? Oh, is it because I'm black? I was just so.
Yeah, he goes into this whole spiel and and just to get himself he bullshits his way into getting a room
Yeah,
at the hotel. It's amazing. Like,
it
oh,
is. It's,
okay, this guy's making a big
it's a
making a
big
big
scene.
hullabaloo. We don't want to look bad.
So,
White
because
guilt, white guilt. Uh,
It's just funny because I said that I was using that monologue for, trying to audition, and I said the N word, and it was
Oh.
just so. It was pretty awkward. That's why I didn't get the part.
Wow.
That'd do it.
I
That'll
chose the
do it.
wrong monologue. It was just like so awkward. So I have a connection with this film. I kind of like, I watched it so many times. I just watched it just before we did the podcast here actually last minute, and I was quoting the lines just before they say it. So it was like I had this deep emotional connection to this movie.
Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna be the one that says I kind of find the Beverly Hills Cop films a little uninteresting. I personally think Matt's Door is actually more interesting than these films. Um,
Ooh.
so I apologize for cracking up for the past 10 minutes.
That's what I
Uh,
was wondering. It's just like, my God, Morgan, was my door
it's
thing?
it's the most random thing I've ever heard you say. It's so natural. I was like, wait, what is really live? And congratulations, it is officially the quote of the day on my Facebook.
Got the honor.
And it's
But
Yay!
and it's midnight, so that means it technically gets 2 days.
but anyway, back to being serious. The 80s was full of like cop action stylized kind of films, and I personally think this kind of falls into that pit. There was just so many action, buddy, comedy kind of scenarios, and it doesn't help either that the sequels just really get interesting. I barely remember anything about the second one other than the Playboy Mansion scene, and the third one. Don't get me started.
No, 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 no.
We do not talk about the third
No.
one.
Let me kind of because I do have the trilogy on DVD, so I watched all three of them. I mean, like I said, the first one I like, and I even said in the previous episode that the Beverly Hills Cop 2 is one of my favorite sequels, because uh,
Wait, Morgan. So does this mean you don't like Lethal Weapon?
ooh,
Lethal Weapon?
Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover.
Are you gonna hurt
I
my feelings, Morgan?
No,
How do you
because I
say?
always saw bits and pieces.
He hasn't seen the whole from front to end.
Neither have I.
Lethal
That means he can't have a negative opinion. Chop that one up.
Negative opinion about Beverly Hills Cop?
Lethal Weapon, Morgan.
Oh,
Keep up, man.
sorry.
Wow, keep it up. Um, yeah, we don't talk. Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop.
I have yet to see all the James Bond movies. Cut me some fucking slack.
God,
I've seen them all, baby. Oh
I've seen
yeah.
I've seen like 2 James Bond movies in my life, and both of them Daniel Craig. So
I've played
Oh,
GoldenEye. Does that
that's my
count?
dirty little secret.
we
Easter
talked
Month
about that in the
said,
first season of Cinema Royale. Whatever.
I should at least see GoldenEye. It has Scene Bean in it.
I am invincible.
I am invincible, and Alan Cumming. He is invincible.
Anyways, yeah. There's a lot of like hilarious moments in Beverly Hills Cop. Like, there's you got the supporting cast is really good actually. You have
Judge Reinhold.
yes, Judge Reinhold who plays Rosewood. He's actually really good. His character development in all three films is actually pretty interesting. Like he starts out as this cop, and he just leads. In the second film, he just gets into like after Axel Foley's involvement into his life, he just gets into this like into these action films, like this badass mode. Like he talks about guns, and he talks about violence, and Taggart is like, what the fuck, Rosewood? What have you become? It's actually pretty interesting. Um, Ronnie Cox is in the film, who we may know from RoboCop later on in his career. He plays Bogomil. He's the one he doesn't, chief of police, or not the chief, but the deputy or whatever. But there was who was that?
In Detroit?
No, in Beverly Hills.
Oh, that was a missed opportunity for a shared universe.
Yeah, that would have been actually. Oh my god, a crossover between RoboCop and Beverly Hills Cop would have been
They
amazing.
both Detroit. I'm just saying, there's a town connection.
You have the right to remain silent. Oh yeah, I have the right to be silent. Your ass.
With a banana in your tailpipe.
I'm not.
If you must comply or else. Boom. Banana shoots out of the gun.
I'm not gonna fall for banana on the tailpipe. Which is that's a perfect scene in the movie where he distracts Rosewood and Taggart by calling room service and having the room service come out to the street where they're having a stakeout for Axel Foley, and as the waiter is giving them the food, Axel Foley comes up and puts the banana on the tailpipe so that they can't follow him. So that's the most iconic moment in the movie where it's like, I'm not gonna fall for the banana on the tailpipe. And
Oh,
Damon Wayans has a cameo in the film who gives him the bananas.
Ah.
Even the chair was surprised, and then nobody laughs because I'm not funny.
Hit and a yes.
this
No,
looks
no,
really pro,
no.
right, guys? I believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean,
You know, like at first, like if I didn't see the title, like I would have thought this was like some kind of like Frozone parody poster.
Yeah.
oh my god. But
Continue.
yeah. So it's one of his iconic moments. I mean, iconic roles. Period. Because it spawned. It's like precursor to Eddie Murphy, where precursor to fucking Nutty Professor. I'm sorry, because that spawned a sequel,
It is kind
wasn't
of
it?
a precursor to Eddie Murphy, though.
Like it
When
really
you
did
think about
launch
it,
his
like in
career.
terms of his.
It launched because yeah, Beverly Hills Cop was the one that launched his career. Like this is the movie where you see his full potential. He's improvising lines. You know, here's a little fun fact for you that they were doing scenes and Eddie Murphy was getting tired, and they offered him coffee, and he's like, no, 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 man, I don't do drugs, I don't do caffeine, so uh, they convinced him to do coffee for the first time. He drinks coffee, and there's a scene after they go to the strip club. They come back, and Eddie Murphy's telling the story about the super cops. Hey man, these guys are like super cops, and he's like all hypered up and all zippity zippity blah 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 because he's hopped up on coffee.
Mmm.
I don't know. It's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy films. Period. Along with the sequel.
Yeah, I just
Ah, this is it.
The Easter
What?
Fox brings joy in Gilbert Godfrey.
Are you talking about what I think you're talking about? Yes, 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 yes.
Oh,
Yes, 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 yes. He was in Beverly Hills Cop 2, which he was the best
No,
part.
no, 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 no. Bitch.
Yep, yep. And that's why Beverly Hills Cop 2 was really good.
Now, if Iago had said that, that would have been a far more interesting Aladdin movie.
gosh.
But yeah, I highly, 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 highly recommend Beverly Hills Cop if you're into, these cop procedural movies, Eddie Murphy's improv dialogue.
If you're one of the 5 people who hasn't seen it already.
Exactly. Who has, I mean, come on, it's been around for at least 31 years now, so get with it.
I actually don't
Tell it
blame
like it
Morgan for
is, Mike.
finding this. I actually don't blame Morgan for finding these movies too uninteresting, but I guess it was because the first time I tried to sit through Beverly Hills Cop. I confess, maybe I just didn't get it at the time, but I first time around I couldn't get into it. Um, Second time around, well, let me put it this way: I got Netflix, so
Yep,
I forced myself to sit down and watch it for this episode, and
right.
I I think okay, so I can see what you're saying about potential here, where this is what 48 hours failed to do, or this is
Yes.
what 48 hours should have been.
Yes. Thank you, James. Thank you.
It I mean you want Eddie Murphy as a cop. It better have some pretty good action. It better be funny at the same time.
Exactly.
48 hours to me at least was neither.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was biting social commentary for its time, but
Right.
I would rather watch something like Beverly Hills Cop if you got Eddie Murphy in it.
Exactly. Finally, somebody understands me. Just waiting for somebody to say that because I thought I was the only one that thought about that. So yeah, and according to Rotten Tomatoes, it is at 83% fresh. So it's up there with Trading Places and Mulan and all that stuff. So let's hop into like a somewhat recent film. It's 9 years ago, 2006. Something called Dreamgirls.
Ah, yes.
Oh
The early
yes.
2000s.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
So the early 2000s was like the decade of Moulin Rouge led modern movie musicals. Beginning with, I think, Chicago, probably. Or maybe Evita. No, Evita was Chicago.
Well, actually, this isn't really Moulin Rouge related. It's like more Broadway. It's like Broadway shows based on real life events, like real life entertainers.
Inspired by real life events.
Like
Hardly,
Jersey
because
Boy.
there's also Sweeney Todd and Hairspray and Mamma Mia. It was
Well,
Moulin
okay,
Rouge
based on Broadway
popularized.
shows. Based on Broadway shows.
Based on,
Yes.
yes, movies based on Broadway shows. Moulin Rouge brought back the cinematic musical, and then that, of course, translated itself into many movies based on Broadway plays, as well as a few independent musicals, but we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is the 2006 movie Dreamgirls, based on the 70s play of the same name, directed by Bill Condon. This was a movie that was in development for quite a few decades, pretty much since the play became popular, but for some reason or another was always delayed, delayed, delayed. And then after Chicago came out, and there was a new demand for it, they got together the actors and the director that they did, and they made a movie, and that's the end of the story. Anyway,
And
basically
as
what
it
it is,
should.
basically what it is a sort of biopic, except not of the Supremes, because it's not really the Supremes because they're original characters, but it's sort of based on the actual real story, just different characters who don't have copyright.
Loosely based.
What Hollywood terms call what was it? It was a French term. Oh crap! I found it on.
Avant-garde.
No.
Oh boy.
It'll come back to me. There's a word for it,
Bolshevik?
but it's a
Fromage.
type of movie that's like a biopic, except not, because it's with original characters of the Supremes. And Beyonce plays not Diana Ross, her name is Dina, and Jennifer Hudson in her big introduction movie, fresh off of American Idol, plays
Mm-hmm.
Effie, the not the fourth Supreme character who nobody remembers
Hmm.
character. And the story is basically about them trying to become famous under the supervision of Jamie Foxx, their agent, who is trying to gain fame and fortune through making black musicians popular in the white demographic and, making them like mass produced. And to do that, he ends up like changing who they are, and he ends up manipulating a lot of them and trying to make them fit more, which greatly screws over Jennifer Hudson's character. Can I even be heard over that sudden static?
I can
Where's
hear
that
you.
coming?
I can hear you.
I can
Where's
hear you.
that coming from? Is that you, Mike, making that noise?
I think
I
there's
mean,
an airplane passing low overhead.
Either that or like someone's vacuuming somewhere.
Okay, well
No,
it's
no,
quieter
no.
now.
I do cleaning now.
No,
Anyway,
no podcast.
just,
I
just,
clean.
okay. Anyway,
just, just ignore it.
it's a good movie. It's got a lot of commentary in it about how people are treated by the music industry back then and now. How there's racism integrated into the industry. How you can lose your identity and you can do a lot of immoral things. But if you stay true to your friends and stuff, then it'll all turn out all right in the end. And if you don't, then you're Jamie Foxx and you're the villain.
And voila, you have a kid.
And voila, you have a kid named Magic. Who the hell
Why
names
would
their kid Magic?
Michael
That
Jackson named one of his
that
kids
part
Blanket?
that part bugged me, and also the part where it was. No, that I'll get back to that later. Anyway, Eddie Murphy's role. Eddie Murphy plays a character named Jimmy Early or Jimmy Thunder Early. He, unlike the other characters, is not based on any specific real life person. He's based on like a combination of different R&B singers of yore, like Jackie,
Jackie Robinson?
Brown.
James Brown, Jackie.
Smokey Robinson? No.
No, his name is Jackie.
Jackie.
His last name is not Robinson.
Jackie Faber.
If I wasn't like the third person, then I wouldn't be instantly forgetting about all of this stuff that I researched.
Jackie Chan.
I would just
Will you shut the
write
hell
it.
up?
I would write it down if I was doing my research, so I could just refer it back to later. But
I
no.
can't because nothing else on the computer works when I'm doing Skype, Mike.
Well, if you did it ahead of time, research, you have it on a piece of paper, and you come to the podcast without bringing up anything on the computer. Oh.
Are you done?
Yep, I am. Continue. Try to
Thank
figure
you.
out who you're referring to.
It doesn't
Continue.
matter. Suppose.
Just continue. Just continue.
Jackie the model?
His character is another musician who's
Jackie Wilson! Jackie Wilson! Jackie Wilson!
Jackie Wilson.
Jackie Wilson. Yes, that's it. James Brown, Jackie Wilson, and a few others. His story is that he's another musician who Jamie Foxx is trying to agentify, trying to bring out into the mass market. The Dreams, they're called the Dreams, not the Supremes, start out by Dreamettes/Dreams. It changes. Start out by being backup singers to Jimmy Early, Eddie Murphy's character, and in the process, the third Dreamette character, who's neither Beyonce nor Jennifer Hudson, but she did voice Tiana on Princess and the Frog, so there's that. He ends up having an affair with her. My movie fucked her hot. Anyway, he ends up having an affair with her despite being married. And that's the center of conflict. But the bigger conflict is as the movie goes on and the Dreamettes sans Jennifer Hudson become more popular and the times change as we move from the 60s to the 70s. Jimmy Early becomes less and less relevant. Eddie Murphy becomes depressed, gets into some vague form of drugs that they never really show. Apparently heroin was involved at some point. And Jamie Foxx neglects his career because he's so focused on Beyonce's character, who he has a romantic attraction to and ends up getting married to. So he's all focused on her and not at all focused on Eddie Murphy, who eventually has like a breakdown on stage and ends up getting his contract revoked and losing his not married girlfriend. And afterwards, we'd never see him again. Should I spoil what happens to his character?
I'd like to take the time to mention that this is the only career choice that landed Eddie Murphy
James,
an Oscar.
Can you not tell them things that I'm going to tell them? This is my movie. You're gonna get your movie in a minute.
Yeah,
Yes, lady.
She didn't even mention the part where he drops his pants.
That was part of the mental breakdown, and not exactly literarily necessary. So
Were you going to mention that his hairstyle reminds me of a California raisin?
that's exactly what I was gonna mention. His hairstyle reminds James of a California raisin.
Well, I mean, like, I have this picture right here, and even his suit looks like a California raisin.
Although, once again, his style is very much James Brown-esque. His music less so. But his visual style very
Like, it
Jamie.
definitely has the color and the wrinkles of a
His
California raisin.
his character is semi-important in that it's what transgresses Jamie Foxx from just a hapless guy who's trying to make money into full-on villain mode, and it is what starts off a series of events that results in everybody turning against Jamie Foxx because fuck him, he screwed us all over.
And then
Mhm.
he went to Annie, where he suffered for his cold pan performance and monotone singing.
Jamie Foxx was good in the movie. Eddie Murphy was also good in the movie. His singing is pretty good. You've heard him in Shrek. That's about all you've heard realistically, unless you saw Dreamgirls. But
Technically, he did party all the time. Remember that.
Yes.
We do not mention his
likes
music.
to party all the time.
We do not
party
mention
all
his
the
music
time,
career
party
here.
all the
his
time.
music
But he
career,
did sing.
in which
This
he
is
sang,
discussed.
in which he sang songs so shitty you could not possibly tell whether or not he was singing with any talent.
I
But
enjoyed it.
what's up, what's up, what's up?
What's up with you?
What's up with you? He was with Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
How could you not like it?
in the clouds.
With these like floating
Anyway,
crap. Anyways,
he's not a great singer. And there are parts where you can tell that he's faltering a note, where he's being drowned out by the instrumentals that let you know that he's not a professional. He's certainly no Jennifer Hudson, who sings in this movie like whoa. But all the same, he carries his tunes well enough, and he can act out the dramatic moments pretty effectively.
Mm-hmm.
He has this kind of way about him that I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it sort of has an impact on the character itself, in that he sort of seems not insincere, but uncertain when he's saying genuine things, like how much he wants his old agent to stay, or that he loves truly the Tiana Dreamette. That isn't necessarily badly acted, unless it's genuinely a result of him not really being able to emote properly. But what it does is it makes his character have a sort of insecurity about him, you know? Like he doesn't really know how to express himself properly. All he knows is the life of privilege and being cocky and famous, and this sort of a low road for him he's so unused to that he can't really deal with it in any kind of identifiable way. Hence the turning to drugs and on-screen mental breakdowns and all that shit. Of course, the movie's not about him. It's about the Dreamettes, Beyonce, and Jennifer Hudson mainly. But his character had enough of an impact that it managed to land him possibly his only Golden Globe, and definitely his only nomination for an Oscar. Who the fuck even won that Oscar? I think it was someone from, like, Little Miss Sunshine.
Let me check that for
some
a
movie or
sec.
another.
I don't know. All I do know
Yes,
is
Alan Arkin from Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah. Boo.
You beat me to it, damn it.
My biggest problem with the movie is that it sort of has this implication about Beyonce's character that, unlike Jennifer Hudson, who's got an amazing voice but she's kind of fat and not conventionally attractive,
Yes.
and too black for white audiences with her style, Beyonce is pretty and appealing to white people but does not have that good a voice. Now, I know she doesn't sing as good as Jennifer Hudson, but she's still Beyonce. And this was 2006, too. This wasn't exactly pre-Destiny's Child. We all knew this was Beyonce, Queen Bee. I don't really expect most audiences to buy that she has this mediocre voice as she's singing, as herself, not pretending to be bad or anything. I get that you couldn't actually have a bad singer play that character, because she sings so many songs and it would have ended up being unpleasant to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But it is sort of doing that actress an injustice, you know? That character an injustice to have her singing those numbers and then have her mom like in the audience go, I never thought she had much of a voice.
Like
Listen,
ever?
then. Like she does not have that much of a voice, but she's got style. Beyonce has more than style, okay?
Well, to be fair, I mean, it's rare that you see Beyonce in a movie in general, so this is a bit of out of her comfort zone.
She's been in other movies. She was in Austin
Well, yeah.
Powers.
hey, go member.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying it's
Shazam!
like it's not every day. You know, like sure she has appeared in a few of them, but like it's not her forte.
She's a
Pretty
good
much.
enough actress to hold her own in the movie and not be totally insufferable. Nobody really does a bad job in this, in
True.
terms of singing or acting. It's a really well cast movie and really well done, really meaningful. The songs are amazing. The performances. Seriously,
I don't
is
know.
that right?
My floor is dirty
Matt,
though.
Matt, you can turn the dirt devil off.
What?
Is
Sorry,
it?
But I got a Dyson this Easter. I wanted to try it out.
Is your door moving again?
there's one more thing I
I
want
shut
to
it.
say.
All right, go on.
Okay, felt
There's,
it.
there's one more thing that I want to say to this movie, and that is, I really don't appreciate and understand the way that it is when
Oh,
people
that was me then. I'm sorry. I just moved my microphone. You're like, okay.
Mikey, was
That's
that
your
you?
microphone back there?
God damn it, Mike.
Yeah, I just moved it.
Yeah,
So it was me. Sorry. Continue.
Mike. Screwing this whole damn podcast over. That's our leader. Anyway, when people talk about the modern musical craze, the whole Moulin Rouge, Chicago, Mamma Mia, they talk about all those movies. They list like Sweeney Todd and Hairspray and fucking Phantom of the Opera at times. I've heard people list High School Musical. And not that all of those aren't valid, but why doesn't Dreamgirls get talked about more? I mean, it won awards. It's definitely one of the better ones. How that was a different decade. Was sort of it's part that's more of the we're gonna do them exactly like the musicals and make them sort of gritty, except not trend that Les Mis started. Thank you very much, Les Mis.
Just curious.
Yeah, I will admit I actually do agree with you on that. Like considering the praise that Dreamgirls had, like you'd think that it would be among one of the more remembered, but I guess
Well, I'm
when
sure the
thinking
fact
about it, I guess there could be an explanation. I mean, it is directed by Bill Colton, and like he has already done Chicago, so I guess the fame of Chicago, like admittedly, it is more well
Matt,
praised, and it
Matt,
did
Matt,
win.
it wasn't done by the director of Chicago.
That
Yeah,
was
it
Rob
is.
Marshall.
Was it?
That was Rob
Yeah,
Marshall.
Rob Marshall, you fool.
Bill
Whoops.
Condon. Bill Condon
You
admittedly
fool.
Bill Condon admittedly does not have a stellar filmography. His other works include the Twilight Breaking Dawn movies.
Whoops. I don't know where. I don't know why. I always thought that. Well, I don't know why.
Well,
For some reason,
Whoa.
I always thought it was. Yeah.
anyway, I'm sure the fact that Dreamgirls is the
Sorry.
only. Anyway, I'm sure that the fact that
No, but
Dreamgirls is. Anyway, I'm sure the fact that Dreamgirls is the only one of these movies that has an entirely black cast and is largely about very subtle casual racisms in the Hollywood and music industry is a
That's not.
complete coincidence to the fact that it's so pushed under the rug all the time.
no. But like my point being is that I do agree with you on that. But Jada, I actually do have a question. Considering like how you feel about Dreamgirls and all that stuff. Considering that it is directed by Bill Condon, do you think he would be like? Do you think he would be like the right choice, or like he would be good to be in charge of like the upcoming Beauty and the Beast remake?
Well, the movies really aren't that similar in design, style, or ambition at all.
Well, I mean, it is like this is pretty much the closest thing we can compare to. I mean, this is like a
They're both.
music. It is a
I don't.
music.
I don't know if Beauty and the Beast will be a musical because, like, Cinderella wasn't.
I heard it is. Like I heard rumors and stuff like that that it could be closer to the Broadway show.
Uh, that'd be nice,
Please,
but I doubt
please
it.
cut out human again.
I liked
I
Human
actually
again.
liked Human again.
Not in the animated movie.
Well, they're not doing an animated movie, so what you complaining
Okay,
about?
well, yeah, but well, Morgan, that's a deleted song. It's not an official. It's not officially in it. Bear in mind.
I do find it annoying that when people talk about the director of the new Beauty and the Beast movie, they're like, "Oh, he's the Breaking Dawn guy." Once again, erasing Dreamgirls like it just didn't even happen. God damn it!
No,
Is there too many black girls for it to exist?
Jada, it's
Black people.
because no, Jada, it's the internet. That's why. It's like, oh, we got like that's
It's
the
more.
thing. It's his most relevant and his most recent popular work. It's like this is why the internet is like, oh, we got. I was like, oh, we're making a live action Beauty and the Beast movie with Bill Colton. He directed Twilight. He directed both Twilight Breaking Dawn movies. Bro, Twilight.
It's
And then
it's
a few
it's
months,
it's,
and
it's
then
more.
a few months later, hey, remember that? Remember that movie, Beauty and the Beast movie we mentioned? We just got Emma Watson in. Yay, Emma
It's
Watson!
it's more than that, Matt. In terms of Dreamgirls and how much it's talked about and recognized nowadays, it's so much more than just
I
that.
wasn't talking about Dreamgirls. I was talking about the Beauty and the Beast remake.
I know. I'm talking about I'm talking about Dreamgirls, and the
See,
fact that it was yet another example of people not remembering that Dreamgirls happened because it
yes,
too many black people.
I
And
don't know. I just
and Jada, I gotta thank you. You reminded me. I have to watch a movie directed by
Bill Condon.
Bill Condon that I can't believe he directed that. I've been meaning to see. It's called Gods and Monsters, and it involves the director James Whales in his final days doing The Bride of Frankenstein.
Mm,
oh,
So
reminder.
I've been meaning to see that one.
Anybody else have anything to say about Dreamgirls? I've said my piece. Now it's your opinions time.
Well,
I like
I don't.
Dreamgirls.
Hmm? What's that?
I said I liked Dreamgirls.
I like Dreamgirls.
I like
I
girls.
don't know who's forgetting about it. I don't know who. I don't know where there's where these polls are that suggest no one's or maybe no one's talking about it, but it always comes up on my it always comes up on my Windows phone every time I'm selecting random. So maybe
Like
that just me?
last year, I saw Jersey Boys, and I just found it so dull. Like
So Jersey
really,
Boys was so boring.
really dull. Like the only good thing was the soundtrack. When they were singing, that's the only life they were giving it to. But when they were like telling the story of the band and stuff, it just felt so nonchalant. I kept thinking to myself,
Honestly, it
why isn't it like Dreamgirls? Why aren't we following these characters and they're in these interesting situations? Why aren't we seeing them, make up, break up, going their separate ways? Dreamgirls is such a more interesting film in many cases about the music industry, the rebellious stages, the different eras it goes through, like the 50s, the 60s, the rebellious times, the 70s. There's just so much more going on in that movie that it just feels more memorable to me as a musical, and I think that's why I enjoy it so much. Eddie Murphy's performance is sort of like the John Belushi story to me. You're on the top, and then you're so forced in to do like this different take or so, and then when someone else steps in the limelight and becomes the new cash cow, it's like, well, what am I? If you're going to go this route, then I'm just going to waste my whole entire life. And it's just such a tragic figure to see this really, really hip singer that was really big in the top go to a huge, huge low to the point where he has like this big breakdown on stage. And it's such an amazing scene how at the same time you can't tell if he's really getting into the groove with the past times or if he's just doing this in great anguish because of the limitations he has under the contract. And that's such a very, very crucial scene. I'm referring to the number Jimmy Got Soul, where he drops his pants. Um, I don't think it's forgettable. I don't think it's forgettable. The songs are good. So I don't even understand why it's considered underrated. It's just, it's weird.
I have to assume that it has something to do with the race, because I can't ignore the fact that it is the only one of this big trend of musical movies that had an entirely black cast, and it is the movie that is the most pushed under the rug.
The Wiz
Well,
had a
you know
black
it could
But
cast.
be.
at the same
It,
time,
What was that
it's
movie again?
mentioned in other
I
movies
said,
like
Which
okay,
chill,
hey,
chill.
I'm trying to say something. I get fucking interrupted. Right.
sorry.
What did you
The
say, Morgan?
Wiz, the Wiz had an all African American cast. and yet that gets talked about, so it's
Does it though? Like when it's
Yeah.
not being used as a
Michael
punchline?
Jackson, Diana Ross, uh, Tipsy Russell, Richard Pryor.
Yeah, but if you ask like any person up on the street if they'd seen The Wiz, their answer would probably be no. Whereas they've definitely seen Chicago.
They're going
You
to
know,
seeing
Plus,
NBC is going to do a live
plus, plus,
telecast November.
plus, The Wiz wasn't part of the modern musical trend. It was like in the 70s.
I actually have an idea of why it could be. It has nothing to do with race or anything, but think about all the other um, movies based on like Broadway shows. You know, when you think of like Phantom of the Opera or Hairspray or Chicago or stuff like that, I think it's more the factor. It's not because of the movies themselves, but I think it's more because the Broadway show, like the Broadway show itself, they are beyond popular. Like the Phantom of the Opera, Sweeney Todd, Hairspray, and all that stuff. Like they're really popular on Broadway, so it does affect how popular the movie, like how their movies would be popular. Dreamgirls, admittedly, it's not something that a lot of people know compared to stuff like Fiddler on the Roof or even Jersey Boys or even like Jersey Boys and stuff like that. So like when it was adapted to movie, it's like it kind of got pushed under the rug because like nobody really knows what Dreamgirls is compared to like all those other Broadway
I,
shows.
I,
So
I don't
I think
I
it's
don't
more the popularity of the original Broadway show compared like
I don't
you
know
guys
if
know what I mean, right?
I
Oh,
don't
sure.
I
know.
know what you mean. I'd never heard of Dreamgirls as a show before it was being made into a movie.
I don't know if I agree with that. For one thing, Jersey Boys in Chicago weren't really that well known when the movies came out. Like Chicago is more
Oh,
known as a movie now than it is as a play.
oh, I don't think so.
And
I'd
I mean,
Dreamgirls
there's
heard
and
of.
Dreamgirls was Tony winning and very well known amongst most Broadway circles. You know, Jennifer Holliday's big debut.
But people weren't talking about Jersey Boys before they made a movie out of it. I'd
That's
say
Not
a
a
lie.
lot, not
That's a
in
lie.
mainstream movie
No, it
circles.
is like
no.
not in terms of movies, but in Broadway, like it's big.
The Four Seasons, yes, because they're an incredibly well
No,
known.
not the Four Seasons, the Jersey Boys show. Even
I
like the
know
Jersey Boys show is big.
I don't agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying. I think it's
I,
big on Broadway, but not so
It's
much in
not
the mainstream.
well, whatever it is, it ain't
well,
race. It's not
I'm
a
not on
social
Broadway,
achievement.
but I heard about it around here. So
I mean, it was a movie that had Beyonce in it, who was like big cheese at the time.
I don't know. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, it is rated 78%, so it's a lot. I I really don't know.
I think it's more the Broadway ideology.
mhm.
Sounds more reasonable.
Please tell me what you think down in the comments below. Debate with us. I want to hear your thoughts.
Is Hollywood racist or not?
Oh crap! No,
You
James,
decide.
Okay,
no! Don't
okay,
do it!
okay,
Don't
okay,
do it!
okay,
Oh crap!
okay. Either way, Hollywood's racist. Like, let's be real here.
I'm not agreeing with this.
So let's move on before I karate chop you in the head.
See what he's
Okay.
been reduced to now? Physical
Wait, I
threats.
always want to do this. I have an excellent idea. Let's change the subject.
ow.
Why is the raven like a writing desk?
Oh, I thought you were doing Monty Python, and I just didn't get it. Um,
Didn't we have one more movie to talk about?
I
Yes,
yes, we
was
did.
trying to segue into it.
but then Matt had to ruin everything with his references.
Anyways, the last Eddie Murphy film from 1996 with a 65% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes is The Nutty Professor.
Yes, and
Uh,
that's gonna be my movie for the evening. The Nutty Professor came out when I was just going into middle school, and it was a very unique experience because it was Um, okay, here's the breakdown. In the film, Eddie Murphy plays mainly, I say mainly because he plays multiple roles in the film, but mainly he plays Sherman Klump, an overweight professor of genetics whose insecurity leads himself to create create a certain bile, uh, a special formula to make himself thin. And so miraculously, this thing works. It he starts out as Sherman Klump, a guy who is pretty much the size of the mass of three people jammed into one body, shrunk down to the size of, well, Eddie Murphy, a nice a nice thin guy. But with this, he also takes on the persona of Buddy Love, who's the polar opposite of who Sherman Klump is as a character. And this becomes this becomes part of the crux of the conflict of the film when you have this professor who's pulling a Jekyll and Hyde tactic to essentially try and make himself something better. And yes, it is a remake of a previous film starring, oh
Jerry Lewis.
god,
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry
Jerry
Lewis.
Lewis.
Lady.
Oh, James.
Yes.
Shameful.
Which I didn't see the remake until just a couple. I mean, I didn't see the original. I didn't see the original until just a couple of years ago, and I thought, eh, it was okay. It sort of tries to prove the same point in terms of be yourself as a person, but I don't know, something about the way that Eddie Murphy, I believe he wrote this remake also,
Uh,
if I'm not
Co
mistaken.
well,
co-wrote maybe.
actually,
Co-wrote. Yeah.
no, not even. In his in the writing credits, none of them are none of it says Eddie Murphy.
Huh. I wonder where I got the idea then. But anyway,
You're
I
crazy
apologize.
head.
I was I apologize for getting ahead of myself there. Um, point being, the reason why I think this works so well as an Eddie Murphy movie is that it took it took a trend that a lot of Murphy's films before this had started out and perfected. It perfected this trend, and uh, that is having Eddie play multiple roles in one film. And a lot of actors have done this successfully and not so successfully. But when Eddie did it, he he he's amazing here. I mean, he plays the entire Clump family. There's scenes in the film where Sherman's sitting down and having dinner with his family, and he's playing pretty much everyone in the room
Well,
except
except for the
for
little kid.
the kid.
Except for the little
Come on,
Hercules.
Cletus, come on.
I'm
And
all wrong something. He's just gonna be like Hercules.
oh, Hercules, Hercules. Uh,
Hercules, Hercules.
Someone
here
call my name.
was
There's your name. I'm gonna stick this knife in the crack of your ass.
and here's the other reason why this film is enjoyable, even though it's different versions of Eddie Murphy improvising and taking on these different characters believably. It um, um, you think that it's such a it's such a quotable movie after the fact. There were so many quotable moments all throughout this film. Um, one of my favorite scenes in the film was Sherman Klump uh, goes to a comedy bar while he's on out on a date, and the comedian on stage, who is a young Dave Chappelle,
Mm-hmm.
snoops him out in the audience and decides to make fun of him for being fat.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets in a lot of good jabs in there, and I think it gives him quite a memorable cameo in this film. Like, ooh, look, it's a full moon out tonight, and
I'm all for any movie that shows stand-up comedians off to be the absolute pricks that they usually are. So
later in the film, he returns to the same bar as Buddy Love with the same girl, sees the same comedian, and his take is completely different. He humiliates the bastard. He turns it around, he steals the show, and
It's like the best revenge scene.
it this is it is two comedy greats going at it. They're rat fisting each other here. They're This was my introduction to the Yo Mama joke right here. They start going off on each other. Yo Mama's so fat, this and that, and the way that they the way that they pace it, the way that they just roll with it, you can't.
Reggie's mama's so fat, her blood type is Rocky Road.
Reggie's mama's so fat she needs a Phillips guide to find her asshole.
His mother is so fat, her belt size is equator.
She sat on a
Post.
dollar bill and George was spewing.
Your mother's so fat, the bitch needs Thomas. Yeah, you already said that one.
Yeah, but yeah, if you're not rolling on the floor laughing by the end of that scene, the oh you're I'm sorry, but you're missing out. And
Then
and
you must be having a bad day.
you must be
That's
having a
not
very
fair.
bad
Take this
day.
piece of shit over here, man.
And now Eddie,
That's sorry to interrupt, but it's like that's literally one of those moments. It's like if he's not rolling on the floor laughing, you have to pause the movie. It's like, let's talk. What's wrong? Go on.
Now, Eddie had done this sort of thing before where he takes on multiple personalities or multiple roles in one film. I think it started with Coming to America, where they had him and Arsenio Hall incidentally playing multiple roles in the same movie. There's one scene
Yeah.
where Eddie's Eddie's not just a prince, he's also playing a guy who's a barber in the barber shop. And then lo and behold, if you're not paying attention, looking really, really closely, he's also playing an old Jewish guy sitting on the seat.
Apparently, it says he was Prince Hakeem, he was Clarence, he was Randy Watson, and he was Saul.
Hmm.
And a Jewish
Which,
guy.
yeah, which is quite an accomplishment. I think acting wise. I mean, this is freaking better than the Oscars. Give this man an
Two.
achievement award.
Sorry.
But moving on, he does this sort of thing in other films like Vampire in Brooklyn, which I think was a funny movie and a scary movie at the same time, but was not such a well received deal. Um, the Nutty Professor was a reunion with Eddie Murphy and Rick Baker, the legendary makeup effects artist, and that's what really sort of helped bring this film, The Nutty Professor, to life. And I want to bring out something else here
Oh dear
that
God.
that I never knew. I never
Alright.
knew
Oh God,
until
yes.
just recently, and this
Yes.
has to be seen to be believed.
So James comes up to me and it's like, I want to talk about Eddie Nutty Professor, and this is something I just noticed. And and it's like I seen the film. I was like, okay, what's he gonna show me? And this picture just threw me through a loop. Like I don't remember this character. I'm like, wait, that that what?
Oh yeah, the Richard Simmons guy.
Wait,
That
that
is him.
The the exercise instructor, I swear to this day, I always thought it was Richard Simmons.
Me too.
I always thought it was Richard Simmons, but that that blows your mind.
That's credit to the work.
Hmm.
wow. So I guess there's no surprise when I say that it won an Oscar for best makeup.
Yeah.
Yes, and you can see why.
Yeah, definitely.
This is only a small role in the film, but it's an important reoccurring role as the film goes on. It sort of helps to push along this side of Sherman that wants to become something else.
Right.
And even though he's in the background, it it works as a it works because you think it's Richard Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Blown away.
Mm.
All right, I was gonna briefly touch on the Clumps, its sequel, but does anyone else have something they want to say about the Nutty Professor?
Um,
Well, I will say that it actually like I'm gonna add a unique factor. It's actually compared. It's actually very interesting how this is actually very different to the original uh, 1963 Jerry Lewis Nutty Professor, because like when you compare one to the other, it's completely different styles, and it actually really shows. It's an interesting example of how you can take one main subject, but when you give it to two completely different comedians, it turns out to be two different results. Like you got Jerry Lewis with his with his exaggerated type of character, like the super nerdy lady style of
I'm no
ambassador.
lady, pantyhose.
Like, and then you get Eddie Murphy with like many different like outrageous amount of different personalities that he portrays, like not just like for the main character, but also like for everyone else, like playing every other type of character. And I find it's like it's such an interesting thing to look at. Like they both work, but both in completely different ways. Like it's a very interesting look, and it is kind of like, I know this is not the first where like the main character where the main actor plays like many different parts at the same time, but it's like it's definitely one of the major highlighted examples, because it shows like it not only shows like the talents in the movie, but it also shows the talents of Eddie Murphy, like what he can do, like all at the same time. Like some people can argue like this is one of the ultimate Eddie Murphy movies. Sure, like you got his roles as Mushu and Donkey, where he pretty much shows off like his improvising skills as an animated character, but then you got like with the Nutty Professor, like he goes all out of what he can do. Like this is like an actor's demo tape, like all formed into one big movie.
Like, to add on to that, his previous movies, Coming to America, Vampire in Brooklyn, he played these different characters, but when you really do think about it, there really wasn't an interaction between the main character and some of those other characters that he did, like Vampire in Brooklyn. He's a vampire, he's a priest, he's an Italian mafia mobster, but there's really not much of an interaction. It just feels like he's donning these different characters. The closest is Coming to America in that barber scene, but there's so many cutaways that it sort of feels like, again, it's shot here, shot here, shot here, shot there. It's going back and forth, which is a cheap way to do it, which, I admit I use that once in a while. With the Nutty Professor, when we see the clumps at the dinner table, we really see them at the dinner table. There is no cheating, there is no doubles, there is no cutaways. That's all Eddie. And the funny thing is, it's very hard to play like 6 or 5 characters in one scene because when you're interacting with yourself, you're literally interacting with yourself. There's even characters in there I didn't even know that there were Eddie Murphy, like the brother. I thought that was literally someone else. I didn't know that was Eddie in the first place.
Me
And
too.
that really surprised me. So if you can really pull off that factor of doing these different characters and just getting away with the illusion, it'll make people do a double take and say, "What the fuck, did he really play that character? Holy crap."
Hmm. And to add on to that, like the previous films that you have mentioned, like all the other characters like Eddie Murphy would play, like they would have like small bits. Usually it would be like Eddie Murphy has like the main starring role and he would play like a few extras on the side.
Yeah.
With this one though, ooh, nice, yeah, nice phone there, Mike. But with this, like he pretty much plays. Not only are they all interacting, but they all have like a significant role. Like he doesn't play one clump. He plays an entire family, an entire herd of clumps. So
Hmm.
like,
He plays a lot
yeah,
of clumps. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
yeah, he
clumps.
plays a lot. Yeah, he plays a lot of clumps. So like, it really does affect the way of how like all the characters combine together, and like they all have a very significant role.
Okay. Jada,
So like
go.
he plays very he plays
I
like several different significant roles at once.
Jada,
Go.
don't go. I didn't like it. I'm honestly,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I
Okay.
didn't like the Nutty
Okay.
Professor movie. Honestly, I have to be a total. I have to be the Morgan here
No
for
problem.
Beverly Hills Cop. I have to be the purist. I have to say
It's okay.
to just side with the original '60s movie. I thought that was a classic Jerry Lewis comedy that had some great side characters and some great moments, and I thought the remake took that, made it less clever, and filled it with mostly like fat jokes and rom-com cliches and more fat jokes. Like their big addition to the character of the loser was to make him fat and have most of the jokes revolve around that. I honestly, the fact that he did the other family members was neat, but I did not think that his impression skills were that great. Like everybody when talking about the movies, all, oh my god, can you believe it? I couldn't even recognize half of them. Open your eyes! He barely sounded different in any of the other roles. It was just him doing drag and him wearing different suits. And I so don't forgive the movie for starting the whole Eddie Murphy in fat suits trend that gave us fucking Norbit
Eh,
Which I
and
still thought
inspired
was pretty
That was
funny.
just one
and,
time though.
and inspired other movies like Big Mama's House and Jack and Jill.
Okay, that I grant you.
Yeah, okay.
Doesn't always work, guys. It doesn't always work.
So
James,
yeah,
the sequel, quick.
I
Okay,
adopt I adopt the unpopular opinion. I didn't like the movie. I
fair
prefer the
enough.
original Jerry Lewis much better.
Okay, okay. Well, there's also a sequel to the Jerry Lewis version, but it's animated, so good luck finding that.
Oh yeah, like but that was like much later. That was like in what, 2009,
8.
2007? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
don't
Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps. I did not see this movie in its entirety until just a couple of weeks ago when I caught it over at a friend's house. And it took sort of that whole dynamic, the the issue with this film, aside from it being repetitive in its notions about being oneself and whatnot, Sherman doesn't really learn anything new here. It seems like more of a repeat of the same moral. And what it does do differently that I think that they were just going for here is they they wanted to show you more of the family, and that was the gimmick with the sequel. Is like, oh, you remember that funny family that he had? Well, we're gonna have more scenes in the sequel that circle around the family. We're gonna have more Eddie Murphy doing all these different roles and whatnot because that's funny. And it it sort of goes to show that while a gimmick can be fine for, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes within the course of a film, taking that gimmick and expanding it to feature length, it does sort of ruin the effect a little bit. It's like it's like pouring sugar on the whole project, and then it's not really a full dessert. So I don't know. Does anyone else have a follow up there?
It's a guilty pleasure for me. I know it's dumb, I know it's ridiculous, but I can't help it. Once in a while, there's a cool line. What else do I have to say about it?
I I never saw
It's
it.
a fun, dumb Eddie Murphy movie.
I never wanted to see it. I didn't like the first movie, so the sequel came out, and I was like, nope. And I haven't seen a single cap of screen time
Still,
Well,
of that
there's
movie.
one. So there is only one good moment where they parody Cape Fear and Buddy Love's in the theater, and he stands up in front of Sherman and he goes, "Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the theaters."
Right, right. Quickly wanted to mention a fun fact that I found out about Nutty Professor, and
30 seconds.
shut up. I can pause it too. Shit,
Don't
shit,
pause it. Come on.
shit.
Cheater.
I want to wrap up soon. My poor brother needs to go to bed.
Shit. Okay, here we go. They wanted to do Jerry Lewis as a cameo in the film, but Jerry Lewis opted out because there was too many fart jokes in the film. He was he was like, "This is distasteful. I'm out of here." So,
That's my Jerry.
um, so yes, I like the professor and
by Harold Faltermeyer. It's not the guy that did Rocket.
Okay. All right. You get the idea.
And another.
I have that tone. Yes, yes.
And all the kids were like, "Hey, that's the song from Crazy Frog."
Crazy Frog bastardized that song, and by the way, that song was also in Monsters and Aliens and Space Chimps. If you're an animation fan,
Or if you just hate yourself
um,
in regards to the latter.
With the Crazy Frog
no, the
version or the
original,
original
both
one?
versions. No, no, Crazy
Okay.
Frog version is never in a film. Anyways, here we go, here we go. That is it for the Cinema Royale 50th anniversary. I did it again.
50th anniversary.
51st line dub, you
I
guys. Line
I feel
dub.
so I feel
52nd line dub, you guys.
I feel so old.
Can't believe I've been doing 50 episodes.
50th.
You
God, how
haven't.
does
We
it
have.
flies?
I
We
know, but
have. I
it's
don't know
just
what
a
you're talking
newcomer
about.
thing. 50th episode. Eddie Murphy's a great guy. I know we talked longer than we should, but we've done this before in the past. We talked way too much about topics, and this is great because you guys like it. You guys comment about it. That's fine.
Results
Speaking of which, can I just say one quick story? Okay, it's Easter. I was at work today because go figure it's Easter. And believe it or not, I had this woman come in asking if we had copies of The Passion of the Christ. Why, you might ask? Because she wanted to teach her kids the origin of Easter.
great
You
story.
might want to
Okay.
wait till they're 13 at
And
least.
and it doesn't help either
that she brings up the fact that her kids were expecting the Easter Bunny and they didn't come. I think that says the age right there.
You know, Morgan, Hop doesn't seem that bad of a recommendation now, does it?
I'd rather show them the Ten Commandments.
Just watch the
Oh.
Charlie Brown special, for fuck's
Or
sake.
no, Morgan, even better, Prince of Egypt.
Last Temptation of Christ.
Yes.
Can
That too.
we just wrap this up, you guys? I seriously need to leave.
This has been
Okay.
Cinema Royale. Happy Easter. Check out Eddie Murphy films whenever you can. Next time, we're going to talk about trilogies. Yes, each one of us will have a trilogy, 3 films. We have to be brief about it, talk about how the film starts, continues, and then ends. So, pick a trilogy. We'll talk about it next time in 2 weeks. That is it, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.
And
See you
next
later,
year
peeps.
the Easter Fox is gonna make sure you get a hook in every Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis and a Star Fox in every GameCube.
Yay!
I am awesome!
Yay!
God.
Yay! 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 Yay!